Welcome to Life is a Metaphor mini podcast, where we explore the many metaphors that life has to offer.
So my daughter wanted to know if I liked a certain song, and my answer brought up a metaphor. My answer was no, I don't really like this song because it kind of stirs things up in a bad way for me. And I wanted to be super clear about that because usually I'm a lover of songs that make me sad or songs that stir me up or make me fall to pieces. I like to be moved and shaken, especially with art. So I'm a huge fan of even a song that would make me angry or anything. It's not that it's the type of emotion that I have an aversion to, because I'm okay with the spectrum, especially when it's art. I usually like that. But in this case, it was more like, just like injuring the wound further instead of like healing it. And so the metaphor that I brought up was, all right, so say you have a wound, it brings up or stirs up something that has happened to you or some emotions that you've really felt, and, an experience that you've really had. And so then we're likening that experience to like a wound, or, potentially a scar, but a wound. Let's just put it there, because having that wound stirred up is sometimes great. I mean, they've got to debride a wound. I believe that's the word for it. But, they have to, change the dressing, stir things up, brush off the dead skin. There are ways that you stir up a wound on purpose. Even if this wound, like detoxify it, and it might feel worse for a minute, and it probably will, but then it promotes further healing. I even heard like my friend talking about how they like ripped her gums apart at the dentist one time because it like promotes further healing. They like really went rough on her gums, and the whole philosophy behind that was to kind of promote better gum growth or healing. I don't know. So as you can see, there are times when you would mess with things and shake them up on purpose because it would promote further understanding, further healing, more regrowth. And yeah, you do have to kind of rip around and make things sore. But then there's kind of this other stirring things up that would be bad. It actually just felt like further injuring, like, oh no, you have a muscle injury, and if, someone is messing with it or making you work it really hard and it's feeling really sore, it's like, oh, it hurts. But you can tell that there's going to be healing. It's in a good way. Or that's going to make it stronger, or that you need to push through this. Or if they're massaging it and it's like, ouch, it hurts. But I can tell that this is detoxifying it. This is like how it needs to be reworked. And it's in a good way, in a healing way. But then there's, that fine line that we can kind of feel in our physical body, and that I hope we can feel in our emotional bodies too. But I was trying to actually find the words to describe this to my daughter. When it's like, all right, now I've used this muscle that has been injured before, and this is not in a good way. This feels like further injuring it. This is no longer building that muscle and making me stronger. This is sort of ripping away and deteriorating that very spot that was trying to heal. This is like further injuring it. I mean, just like, every time you are building your muscle, you're actually creating tiny tears in your muscle. And that can be a healthy building thing. And tearing your muscle in a bad way can also be, like that further injuring. It's like not making things better. And anyway, I know some people that have a difficult time feeling that in their physical body. They kind of just are afraid because it's a wound, because it's their shoulder and their shoulder is weird because they hurt it once long time ago. They don't like to feel anything in that shoulder because they just, it's a fear point. And so even if it's like a good thing, like, hey, no, probably we need to stretch it a little, or it wouldn't hurt to fatigue it a little and to use that muscle, because that would build it, but they can't be talked into that because it's like, no, nothing that, brings about any sort of soreness or any sort of pain or any sort of exertion in that area is like, no. And that happens with people, with their emotional wounds too. They don't want any of the emotion to show up. They don't want to see any of it. It makes them have that fear response. So this was me sort of describing like, yeah, okay, but I can kind of feel the difference, or I think so. I think I can feel the difference in my emotions too. And man, usually I am a sucker for a song that stirs things up and makes me mad and makes me have memories of an experience and that breaks open a wound and, sort of brushes off all the dead slough and, brings about a new layer of growth and healing and makes me cry and, all of that. But in this case, this song just seemed to hit that same wounded nerve in such a grilling and drilling and injuring way that it was just like, this just doesn't seem, I don't like the song. It seems like it's just sort of injuring me further to relive this horrible experience over and over. And we liked playing with the metaphor. And so we did.
Thank you so much for listening. I've always loved playing with ideas, but usually they just aren't at all what others come up with. So that has made me feel weird for most of my life. But now I'm determined to take what makes me weird and to try to make it useful. So come and check out all the other podcasts and things that we've got going on at weirdisuseful.com.